didn't act quickly enough on escalating crime, particularly in Townsville after losing the state election. The former Queensland government lost seats in Thorungawa, Mundingburra and Townsville, with crime being a major factor in the loss of voters' support in regional Queensland. Speaking on ABC Radio Brisbane, Stephen Miles said, "We got things wrong in Townsville and people made up their minds to tell us that." Well, joining me live now is crime expert and Bond University criminologist, Dr Terry Goldsworthy. Thank you so much for your time this morning, Terry. Do you believe we will see a turnaround in crime under an LNP government?
Yeah, good morning. Look, I don't think we'll see an immediate turnaround. The problem's simply too big. If you look at the issues they're facing a 20-year high in the crime rate across Queensland. In terms of youth offending, the last two official reports released showed a 23% increase in proceedings against youth offenders, etc. So, I mean, they make up more than 50% of our break and enter unlawful use and robbery offenders, even though they only account for 18% of the overall offending population. So the problem is quite wide. I think it'll take a year, 2 years, maybe get on top of this. Our crime rate has stabilised, but it has stabilised at those 20-year highs, and that's the problem. Even though it hasn't overly increased in the last 12 months on the public data I've looked at, it is at those record highs. So it'll take, I think, at least 2 to 3 years to fix up the mess that's been left by the previous government.
Okay, well, we have now started the 100-day countdown timer on what has been quite a long list of ambitious promises with the incoming government, committing to legislating the Making Queensland Safer laws, including adult crime, adult time. What do you make of these policies and these changes, and are they more than just a slogan?
Yeah, look, some of the big ones are the adult time, adult crime, as you said. Look, that will make a difference in terms of life offences. So talking primarily about murder here. And we know from the data that a substantial cohort of youth offenders don't get life when they commit a murder. That is there for everyone to see on the sentencing data. This will make sure that doesn't happen. What it will also do, I guess, is put the issue of discretion firmly in the hands of the judiciary so that when they make a decision, they won't be able to fall back on the argument or defence that I was merely complying with the provisions of the Youth Justice Act. By removing those false ceilings of 10 years and 7 years that are existing in there at the moment, it'll be incumbent upon the judiciary to be able to explain why they chose a certain sentence, which I think is good in terms of transparency and accountability. In terms of other issues, I mean, the reset camps, these rehabilitation programs, again, they will be things that will need to be looked at in 12 months and 2 years to see how effective they are. The reset camps are substantially different to boot camps as we've seen them in the past. They are not a court-ordered sanction as an alternative to incarceration. They are for youth offenders before they go into the criminal justice system proper. So that's a different aspect altogether. In terms of drugs, he's moving back and repealing the decriminalisation of heroin, cocaine, and methamphetamine, which I think is a good thing. And he's also not allowing pill testing, for instance, at schoolies this year, which essentially is just quality control for organised crime in terms of the products they're giving to young children to use.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned the regional reset camps there. Also, in terms of the focusing on early intervention, there's also the early intervention and youth justice schools as well that are expected to be set up too. But I mean, I guess this also does take time and resources before we're really going to see any of these rolled out.
Yeah, that's right. And, there's been a lot of focus by, my fellow academics, other public commentators on the end of the criminal justice program where they're talking about the harsher sentences perhaps for those serious repeat offenders. And that's the only people who have the prospect of those harsher sentences. It's not someone who's a shoplifter or something like that. But the LNP also had at the other end of the spectrum substantial focus on rehabilitation. Serious repeat offenders in Queensland at the moment are released on a 72-hour plan. So what happens after 72 hours? Nothing. They go back to reoffending. Now, the LNP identified that as a problem and want to give them a 12-month rehabilitation plan. So the new government is not all about hitting people with a big stick. They're also looking at the crime prevention measures they can put in to stop children entering the criminal justice system and that cycle of offending. But they're also looking at how do we stop kids or youth offenders remaining in that cycle of offending. So 100 days, I think, is reasonable to give them a chance to sort out what they've walked into and then see some clear direction. The other thing I'm impressed by is that he has said that there will be ministerial accountability. We had a police minister sit in that ministerial position for 9 years. And when you look at the outcomes in terms of performance for our crime and criminal justice system, you would wonder how that person was never removed. Christopher Furley seems to be indicating he will move ministers if they don't perform, which is a good thing for us.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you. Many people hopeful anyway. Dr. Terry Goldsworthy, appreciate your time and insights this morning as always. Thanks.